Good day, listeners. My name is Dr. Ryan Todd, and I am your host for Beyond the Checkbox, where we look at the future of mental wellness in multiple organizations. If you are a CEO, you are a manager, you are an HR, you are a leader, and expect and want more from the mental health of your organization, this is the podcast for you. Today, we are very pleased to be joined by Evan Rand, who is the Director of Hockey Operations for the USHL, that is the United States Hockey League, one of the elite leagues in the world in developing junior hockey players, from David Backus to Joe Pavelski to Johnny Gaudreau, Jack Hughes. The list goes on in terms of the elite players that come from your league. And thank you, Evan, for joining us today on Beyond the Checkbox.
I appreciate it. Happy to be here.
Well, thank you for joining us. And you know, one of the things that has been very impressive in your league is just how you've put mental health first and foremost. You've put it alongside initiatives like diversity and inclusion. You put it alongside initiatives like player safety. For you, what has been the drive to have mental health at the forefront of the league?
I think we're seeing a push with mental health from both players and coaches alike. I think that it is originated with our players, but it's our coaches that are on the front lines, and they're having to read and react to whatever they're seeing through their players. And they come to us with things that they see, and they put mental wellness as a priority for the league. I think just generally too, and seeing this across just culturally, people are becoming more aware of their mental health, and I think that's true across adolescents, across young adults. I think as a result, stigmas have decreased. Mental health the attitude towards it is shifting. And, I think that this demographic in our league, these young adults, these adolescents, their shift is becoming more apparent to our staff. And, that's why it's been put on the forefront for us.
So take me through that, Evan. Players are now going to coaches, are they going to managers? Are they going to team owners? Where is the push? It sounds like it's been a very grassroots kind of thing when it comes to these young athletes who are now thinking, hey, I need help with mental health and I'm okay to talk about it. Where's the push, and take me through that sequence of events?
I guess I'm not the one on the front line, so I guess I don't know where the actual push is coming from or what those conversations actually are. But we have coaches in our league that have been through generations of players. Been here doing this, whether it's in the USHL, doing it collegiately, professionally, and coming back to the USHL. They've have a vast experience of coaching, and I think that they're seeing just a general shift in the way that current players, or this generation of players and young adults, are carrying themselves and are approaching off-ice habits and wanting to take care of themselves more mentally and more mindful.
The physical part of the USHL, obviously, because it produces some of the most elite hockey players in the world, that physical health and wellness, that's always been there. And now there's this kind of new push for the mental health piece. Are they being equivocated to each other? Are players now thinking that mental health, wellness, performance is as important, or is that a stretch?
Oh, I don't think it's a stretch. Actually, just we have a great partnership now, and we're seeing the way that our players are engaging with resiliency training, and they're eager to learn. I think it's just an evolution. I think off-ice preparation is going to enhance their performance on the ice, and no different than maybe when originally weightlifting was becoming more of an off-ice priority, and it moved into body weights, flexibility training, and diet has evolved. I think we're also going to start to see an evolution and I think we are seeing that evolution in mental health and training, where, maybe it was more reactive prior to this, and you're going to start to see the shift in the evolution towards being proactive, and how a very healthy mind can translate positively to all walks of life, but specifically for our league, on ice performance.
I've always been so intrigued by like the mindset of a young athlete and just the stressors that they face. And of course they love the game, and also they put themselves through this intense physical, emotional toil, injuries. They move away from home at a young age for a shot, a shot at playing in the show. Take me through like what these players face from a physical standpoint, these elite athletes, and then take me through kind of what they face in terms of emotional stuff that they need to go through.
Yeah, so, there's a lot of firsts for players in our league. They're going through things for the first time, whether that's leaving home, living with a different family and having to billet, having just to be more responsible generally through all areas of life. And also, they're playing a very competitive brand of hockey. And obviously, we want to develop them. They want to develop and get to that next level. And, I think our teams, they do an outstanding job acclimating these players and creating that kind of sense of family and comfort. But the reality, as kind of you mentioned, is there's still stressors there. There's still, these are still people off the ice rink. So you have your stress related to the on ice performance, but you also have those things, like I said, those new things that they're going through in life off the ice as well and outside of the rink that are, that add to different stress levels that, I think creating a more mentally well athlete will build their coping skills and strategies to manage their mental wellness. And it's our job to give that to them. As a development league, and our role is not only to develop hockey players, but it's also to develop very strong-minded, quality individuals. We have a heavy emphasis on things like education. So having a strong and healthy mind is paramount to what we do here at the USHL.
The like question of like where does the buck stop with mental wellness is such an interesting one among so many organizations, and this is a large elite organization that you play a big part in running. What was it always like? You said that it's our job. I wonder if it's always been viewed as your job and our job as the league to do that, or was it downloaded to the teams? Have you seen a shift in whose job it is to like take care of players?
That's a great question.
I wonder if because we put a lot on leadership and we put a lot on coaches, and I wonder if there's been a shift from let's make sure the coaches have the tools so that they are the ones that provide everything, or trainers, they kind of provide everything. And now there's been, for a number of different reasons, I think there's been a handful of movements where leagues are maybe responsible for athletes in a way that they ever have been because of, there's legal precedent now. There's players speaking out about the leagues, saying that they need to do more for our players' safety. And I think that there's been an evolution of that. Has there been such an evolution with the USHL when you're looking at what is the league's actual responsibility for taking care of these players?
Yes. I think that there's a strong connection between, and I think that this is something that's been brought to light more recently, and we're seeing and recognizing the strong connection between your mental wellness and how that impacts your performance in life, and also on the ice. There's that physical performance between mind and body, where if you connect the two, you're going to get more output. So I think that there is more of a recognition of that piece within our league, but I think that's generally throughout all areas of sport and life. That if you have a healthy mind and you're mindful, you're going to perform better in whatever you're doing. But you actually touched on something like culturally and seeing other players kind of destigmatize these things. And I also think that, we see this more in our league. There's social media influencers, there's celebrities and sports heroes of our athletes that are coming out and speaking honestly and openly about mental health. And, they're trying to shift and change the narrative, change the conversation. And I don't think that gets lost on our players. I think that, if they see an NHL player speak openly about any kind of mental struggles that they might be having or depression that they might be having, and it validates something that they're going through, I think that's really important. I think that's a good thing. Self-awareness is positive, and to try and get out ahead of it, fix it. I think that's something that is part of the reason why I think that leagues, team operators, league offices are starting to take more of a notice to it.
Is it like you're a leader in this space, and you have had to, like, it sounds obvious now, okay, well, mental wellness improves performance on the ice. Like, that just sounds like something that, if we said it 5 years ago, maybe it wouldn't be so obvious, but it definitely sounds obvious now. Were you finding yourself needing to sell the idea that, like, this is an important thing to focus on? Like, was there pushback? Was it easy to push through? Like, where was it a sell? Did you have to sell this whole thing?
Not at all. I think that's a testament to the league. The league is a pretty progressive league. And, if there's things out there that we can do better and we can improve, our owners, our board, our general managers, our coaches, they're all on board. This wasn't much of a sell. I'll say the one piece of it that was really helpful, and this is a testament to something that was brought to our attention, is we have a very strong relationship with USA Hockey and the NHL, and it was Kevin Westgarth who really pushed us to kind of change our approach to it, to go from, like I said before, to reactive to proactive, and start training our players and get this routine of mental health training into their daily workout routine or whatever routine that they're currently doing. That was, everybody was fully on board with some sort of mental wellness approach. And then there was that piece where we just kind of tweaked it a little bit and tried to change our approach and how we address this with our players.
What other kinds of educational initiatives do you have in the USHL? Like, what other things do you push? Do you have to push the physical wellness piece? What other things are you looking at kind of in terms of leading the way at the USHL?
Well, what's great about the mental wellness piece has been, we kind of gave it to the players. We introduced it, we onboarded them, and they've ran with it. We haven't really needed to push usage at all. Like, it's something that they clearly were looking for and wanted to consume and better their mental state or their mental wellness or psychological state, whatever the correct term would be. And some of the other things too that we're pushing, obviously we're really primarily focused on education. A lot of these guys are going to end up going to perform, play NCAA hockey after this. That's the large bulk of our league and where they go. So giving them educational resources is a huge tool for us. Making sure that they're well supplied with anything that's going to enhance them academically. We also have a few other things that we're working on. You were with us at the Fall Classic in Pittsburgh, and we're turning more of a focus towards, like you mentioned before, inclusion and diversity. Just generally making sure that every player that comes to our league, they feel welcome, they feel at home, they feel that they can be themselves with their teammates and in the dressing room. I think that's important, and I think there's obviously a lot of parallels between the inclusion diversity piece and also their mental wellness.
The USHL has done a lot of work in terms of diversity and inclusion, and in hockey, in general, there's been a lot of a lot of work to be done there. And I think that mental health travels alongside the same road as diversity and inclusion does. Are you hearing the same thing from the athletes, that they need more diversity and inclusion training? Are you hearing the same thing from the athletes that you're hearing in terms of the mental health stuff, them pushing it from the grassroots level?
I don't know if it's necessarily, if it's that we're hearing more from the athletes. From my standpoint, or from where I sit, I see that when we give them, you know, a presentation or any sort of content or anything to consume that is maybe pushing inclusion amongst teammates, fans. I just think that we see high engagement levels. So I think that it's there, and they want to consume it, they want to engage. But from where I sit, again, and this is probably because I'm not on the front lines like a coach is or general manager. They're the ones interacting with the players on a daily basis. But I know that when we do something that's an initiative related to what you were just referring to, we see really high engagement levels. And we see, when we were at the Fall Classic and Patrick Burke, You Can Play, gave the presentation, it was really well received.
And I've seen Patrick Burke speak, as you said, at the Fall Classic, and he had such a gripping narrative around why diversity and inclusion is so incredibly important for young athletes. And yeah, and I think it's the next echelon, and it's really cool to see the USHL kind of lead the way. Do you think that, the leadership at the USHL, where does that come from? I mean, there's a general cultural sense that we need to take care of our players first. But that's not an accident. Where do you think where does that come from?
I think it's just making sure that, there's a general push, like you said, just culturally in hockey in the industry, to build upon any like inclusion and diversity initiatives. But it's just a general common sense to just make sure that everyone that's on your team feels a part of your team. Anyone that's coming to root for your team feels like they're a part of the team. Everyone's welcome to cheer. Everyone's welcome to play. And I think, obviously we keep drawing that parallel to mental wellness and how the two intersect. And, if you have a happier player, it goes back to how mental wellness impacts your physical performance, and there's that body and mind connection. They're going to perform better on the ice. So a player in the dressing room that feels, whatever their background is, feels more welcome in the dressing room, and they're going to have their output's going to be better once they hit the ice. And that's something that from our leadership on down, it's been great, because I think that there's everyone's very open to it. Everyone's very much on board with this initiative, and making sure everyone is feeling welcome in the USHL.
Let's talk. That leads me to think about the economics behind hockey. Obviously you need fans in seats. You need support from the market because you wouldn't have a league without fans. Do you think it helps with, this is not why you do it, but do you think it does help with branding when you are showing that you're taking care of your players? There tended to be, I think, you always hear stories of like hockey in the 80s and the 90s, and it was mostly branded as like a very aggressive sport, at least in Canada. Lots of skill, goals, but there was a lot of fighting in the junior leagues, and that seemed to sell. What I'm seeing is like a shift in really selling the skill and selling the finesse of the game, and I'm wondering if that also moves alongside, like, we also try and take care of our players. Have you seen a shift in how that piece is marketed?
In terms of how we take care of our players and maybe how the game is being sold at our level, I think the parallels are, obviously we want to turn out the best players that we possibly could, and the better the players are off the ice, it's going to translate to their on-ice performance, and that's a better quality of hockey. The hockey is going to speak for itself, and this league is filled with great hockey players. And that's, the quality of the game is going to draw fans to the rink. It's going to draw fans and put them in the seats. And just generally too, if you have a player that feels more welcome, or has a better mental wellness or psychological state, they might be more inclined to engage with the community. They might be more inclined to do certain things because, like I said before, it's the mental wellness piece is not specific to on-ice performance. It really translates positively through all areas of life, and I think that would also help teams kind of brand themselves in the markets.
Take me through a little bit of the pressures that some of these young athletes face. A lot of them are elite athlete. Well, they are all elite athletes. A lot of them are kind of looking to get to that next level. And I don't know what the percentage is, but I imagine it's a small percentage that go to play NCAA, and even smaller percentage that get drafted, and and then an even smaller percentage that get play in the NHL. What are the pressures that these young players face in trying to accomplish that next level?
It's pretty crazy. They're pretty remarkable. The pressures that they have on them, and how they're able to handle those pressures. I mean, they come to this league. A lot of players, and primarily most of them, they aspire to play Division I hockey. So it's some of them come to our league with commitments already to go play, and they want to further developments, and maybe they have their eye on the draft, the NHL draft, or whatever the case may be. But there's always eyeballs on them, and those players that maybe don't have commitments, they're trying to get college commitments. There's scouts at these games. Again, like talked about the Fall Classic before. That's a heavily scouted event for these guys. At our event in September in Cranberry, and there's NHL scouts there, college scouts. They're evaluating them. They got to keep up. A lot of these guys they're in high school. They got to keep up academically. Graduate high school, they go on to college, making sure that they're meeting any kind of minimum requirements for the NCAA or whatever institution they're going to be going to. So they come into our league, and there's pressure coming at them from different areas, and it's pretty remarkable to see how they just even prior to any kind of mental wellness initiative, how they handle that pressure, and then how they develop coming out of this league. And that's a testament to our staffs, our coaches, our general managers. They're doing a great job developing these kids and making sure that they're on path to go where they want to go.
You mentioned the Fall Classic, and when I was there, it was clear that it was one of the most heavily scouted hockey events in probably, I want to say, North America, but potentially even the world, outside of maybe the World Junior Hockey Championship. And I have this one picture that I took as I was kind of up in the stands, and the whole bottom row was just black coats. And what I was told were the black coats were like the scouts. And I just couldn't believe the eyeballs and the attention that was being paid to these young athletes. Like it is incredible, the pressure that they face. And I think, equate playing hockey with, it's fun and it's kind of a glamorous lifestyle. And I think very few people see I don't want to say the underbelly of it, but the true nature of it, the travel, the grueling physicality of it, the pressure that they put on themselves internally, the pressure that their families may put on them, and then the external natural pressure that, like, you are expected to perform at a certain level. And if you don't show up on time, and if you don't perform, you could be done. Like, you could get sent down, and that could be it for you. And yeah, it is amazing to see these young people perform. Do you think there's two ways to look at that, right? One, they're self-selected in terms of their mental resilience. Two, that it's largely trained throughout playing hockey. Do you have a take on which one it is? Do you think they're more self-selected, or do you think they get to the league and that is actively trained with them to how to deal with pressure?
I don't know if there's any one particular reason. I think it could be a combination, or it probably depends on the individual. Some might get to the league and it's kind of eye-opening, and like you said, the demands of the travel, their schedules changing, they're away from home for the first time, and And sometimes, a player may need a year to kind of adjust, and they'll play in the league, and then their second year they'll kind of pop, and they'll have they'll perform better. They'll be better on the ice. And then other players might come a little bit more physically mature or mentally mature rather to the league where they don't have those same challenges. I think it's individualized. I think it's specific to the player. Some players come in this league and they come for a year and they're ready to move on to whatever's next for them. And like I said, usually that's college hockey, and others need another year or two to really develop and get to that level. And it's just different walks of life, I think.
What's a win for you, Evan? Like you can't send everyone to the show. Like not everyone is going to be a Joe Pavelski or a Johnny Gaudreau. What is when you're putting an athlete through, they're with you for a very developmental, important period in their lives, and they could go one of multiple ways. What is a win for you personally when you see an athlete go through a certain set of stages? What do you like to see, and what's the rewarding part of that?
Well, I mean, obviously everybody, it's great when a player reaches whatever level they want to, and obviously most of these guys that come in here and they want to play in the NHL, and if they reach that level, that's great. That's what most of these guys, 99.9, if not every single one of them, aspire to. But just I think generally, I think it's just turning out quality individuals. We're a league, like I said, where a lot of these guys are going to go play Division I hockey. They're going to get an education. They're going to get a degree, and that sets them up for life. And I think that's the most important piece in all this. That we have staff here in our league that are setting these guys up for success through whatever comes after the USHL. And it's not lost on these guys, our coaches, our head coaches and GMs, that hockey is not a forever thing, and they got to turn out quality individuals.
Do you think that's been a shift? Like you've been in the game for years, you played years, and you've worked, NHL player safety. You've worked at multiple echelons of elite hockey. Do you think there's been a shift there in saying, okay, not everyone's going to make the show. This is not all about performance. Let's focus on wellness, or has that always been there?
I think it's always been there to some extent. I think that probably now, there's more resources and tools put behind it to make sure that guys are more set up for their post-playing career, whenever that's going to happen. I think, there was always a sense that, it's a very small percentage of players that are going to end up in the NHL, and if they end up in the NHL, they're going to have a long career. I think that this is we're just at the forefront of maybe where we can kind of train a younger demographic or a younger player to progress positively and have the tools that they need to be successful whenever that post-playing career happens. I think that we're just giving them more tools for their tool belt to better themselves once that occurs.
Excellent. And Evan, we talk every podcast episode about what our guest does to stay well, to stay mentally well. You played hockey for years. I don't know if you still play 5 times a week, but what do you do to stay resilient, stay strong, stay mentally well?
Yeah, I'm not really playing hockey as much anymore. But I try and replace, like, when you step out on the ice. This is everyone I play with and everyone I'm sure plays. They have that feeling where like stressors kind of melt away, anxiety kind of melts away, and it's just like a time to be kind of in the present moment, mindful. And I've been trying to find other areas to kind of replace that as I kind of get older, and I may not necessarily have the same time to go out to play some men's league or something. So I try and do things like yoga or general exercise to kind of relieve stress. I tried meditation. Hasn't really been something I've stuck with, but I really like it. And just different hobbies also that I've been trying to do that to kind of like I said, kind of like take you away from any life stressor that might be weighing you down or front of mind.
I love that about sport and hockey in particular. Like, even though it's such a fast moving game and an aggressive game, it's also a very mindful game. Like, you are in that place and time. And if you aren't, you're just not effective. And I'm sure that's true for so many sports. But you wouldn't necessarily think of hockey players as mindful people. And I think they're very mindful individuals across the board, because you need to be so in the moment to be able to track so many different things going on the ice at once. So I'm happy to hear you say that, because I agree. It's for sure me when I play, twice a week in division, I think it's Y or W hockey, the lowest possible division ever. It's a very mindful experience for me, and everything just doesn't seem to matter, no matter how bad you think things are at the time.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible, and you don't even realize it while you're playing, right? It's always afterwards that you're just like, wow, every worry in the world just went away for 2 hours.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, Evan, we very much appreciate your time on the podcast today, and thank you for joining us. Also, thank you for all your work. The USHL and your leadership has been so strong in terms of taking care of your athletes, putting mental health and resilience at the forefront, and really putting it on the agenda with other things that have always been seen as no-brainers, like player safety. So to see mental health be put on that echelon is very impressive, and we're very appreciative of all the work you do at the USHL.
Right back at you, and we obviously really value our partnership with you guys, and what you guys are doing for our players is just incredible, and it speaks just that the players are very eager to learn more about their mental wellness and continue training. So we appreciate everything that you guys are doing as well.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much. And with that, we would like to thank the viewers and the listeners for Beyond the Checkbox. I am your host, Dr. Ryan Todd. And again, if you are a leader, you are an HR, you are a CEO, and you want more from the mental health of your people and yourself and your organization, this is the podcast for you. And we were joined today by the Director of Hockey Operations of the USHL, Evan Rand. Thank you, Evan.
All right, thank you.